Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Our God is a mighty God, and He hears and answers prayers, and He blesses those that are obedient. You cannot contain the blessings that God pours out upon you if you're obedient to God. And I've been talking about obedience now for the last 30 days. I've been preaching on obedience. And I'm going to talk about it again today because God demands, He commands us to be obedient. He demands obedience from His children. He demands each and every one of us to honor His word, to keep His word. And I thank God for these young people that are coming along. Of course, I thank God for anybody that can sing. But, you know, God's commanded us to go into all the world and preach and to minister, to be ye witnesses unto me in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the uttermost parts of the world. Acts 1:8. He tells us to be witnesses. These singers are being witnesses about Jesus Christ to the world. They're witnessing to the lost that are sitting in front of the television sets. They're listening to the shut-in. They're witnessing to the shut-ins. They're witnessing to those that are saved. They're just giving them a word of encouragement. God will. And I want to speak on that today because they're not just singing to 25, 50, or 100 people. They're singing to hundreds of thousands every week. And there's a lot of young people that are watching this program today that you need to be using your talent. You need to be on fire for Jesus. You need to be out there witnessing everywhere you go, telling people about Jesus Christ because He is the answer. And that's what we're trying to do. I want to talk to you about a king in the Bible. I'm going to start with 1 Kings chapter 19 and 20. I'm going to 20 is where I'm going to mainly hit. But Ahab was the king of Israel. Ahab was an evil king, the most evil of all kings, the Bible tells us. And you know, it was Ahab that had to call Israel together up in the mountains that day when Elijah went to talk to him about God. And anyway, I'm not going to go into that. In verse 20, Ben-Hadad was the king of Syria. Now, Ahab was the king of Israel. Israel being a small nation at this time, or a small company of people. But Ben-Hadad was the king of Syria. And he had 32 kings that joined with him. And he sent messengers to Ahab, said, Ahab, I demand that you give me all the gold that you have. I demand that you give me all the silver you have. I demand that you give me all of your wives. And I demand that you give me all of your children. And Ahab, being the king that he was, said, okay, you can have all my gold. You can have all my silver. You can have all my wives. You can have all my children. If it'll keep peace, you can have it all. When Ben-Hadad saw that Ahab had no backbone, he demanded more. He said, I'm sending messengers tomorrow. And they're going to come to your houses. And everything in your houses that are pleasant to look at. Everything that's pleasant. If you have any diamonds. If you have any silver. Or if you have any rubies or gems or anything else that's of value. We're going to take all of that too. Ahab got to thinking, well, golly, they're going to have everything we got. So he called the elders of the tribe of Israel together. And as he called the elders together, he told them, he said, this man is up to mischievous. He said, he's up to something bad. And the elders agreed with him, and they said, Ahab, he said, I've already agreed to give him my gold and my silver and my wives and my children. And they said, well, what? And he's still wanting everything else. And they said, don't agree with him. Don't make a deal with him. And so Ahab sent messengers back telling him, no, we're not going to do that. I've already agreed with you on all the rest, but I will not do that. And so Ben-Hadad got the 32 kings together, and they decided to go down and make war with Israel. And as they went down to make war, God sent a prophet to Ahab. Even though Ahab hasn't been walking and serving God as well as he should have, God sent a prophet and said, Ahab, to prove that I am God and to prove that you're to place your trust in me and to prove that the Syrians need to trust me, that I am God, I'm going to fight the battle for you tomorrow and deliver the Syrian army into your hand. He said, I'm going to deliver all of them into your hand tomorrow. And I want you to read chapter 20, verse 13. And behold, there came a prophet unto Ahab, king of Israel, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou seen all this great multitude? Behold, I will deliver it into thine hand this day, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Have you looked at your problems today? Have you looked at what the enemy has thrown at you today? God is telling Ahab, have you seen the multitude of the army out there against your little army? Have you really stopped and paid attention to what's going on? But because I am the Lord thy God, I am going to deliver you from this burden. I'm going to deliver this army into your hands today. You're not going to have to worry about it. Now, church, this is the same God that we serve today. No matter how large your problem is, no matter how big it seems in front of you, no matter how high the mountain, God has already told you that He's going to take care of it because He said it in His Word. And if He says it in His Word, God's going to keep His promise. And He told Ahab that day, He said, Ahab, you don't have to worry about it. I'm going to deliver it into your hand. And he said, well, how in the world are you going to do that? He said, I want you to take 120 of your princes of the providence out there, the young men, send the young men out to battle. And I'm going to show you what I can do. So just send that 120-some people out there, 132, whatever it might have been. He said, send them out there, and I'm going to show you how I can win a battle. So Ahab sent them out. He sent his army out there, and every man killed those that came before him. Every man killed the people that they fought against. Every man went out there and killed them. They slew every one of the Syrians, and the Syrians fled. Then another prophet of God came. Israel had won the battle. Israel had won that battle. Then another prophet came to Ahab. He said, Ahab, you see how mean Ben-Hadad is, the king of Syria. He said, get yourself in order. He said, get your house in order. Get your army prepared. Because next year, he's coming back to fight again. You whipped him today because I put him in your hands, but he's coming back next year. And church, what God is trying to tell this church in here is just because God delivered you out of one valley doesn't mean there's not going to come another valley. Just because He moved one mountain doesn't mean there's not going to be another mountain. We have to put our trust in God from here until the rapture, from here to the grave. You cannot slow down. You cannot slack up, but you've got to keep going full blast, and you can't look to the right or to the left. You can't depend on the preachers. You can't depend on the Christians. You can't depend on man, woman. You can't depend on your wife. You can't depend on your husbands. You can't depend on your churches.